In CGI, when we are procuring, when we talk about procurements, we have dedicated teams set up for procurements. We have teams set up who research and analyze various different suppliers that we can use, and we have teams who who produce reports and who do the due diligence on each and every single supplier, whether they are able to supply and in the quantities that is required for the projects within our business or within our line of work. A project manager doesn't really need to be involved in all that process, but what project manager does need to do is highlight what resources we need, what sort of things we need to procure, and we need to raise that to the business, and then it's then those specialized teams, they take that on and they do the sort of legwork for us. In this particular case, our suppliers and our vendors were predetermined for us by the client, and it's often the case that the client chooses what suppliers they want to use, and they use us to render the overall service. However, they choose, they want to be dealing with Microsoft technologies, they want to be dealing with Vodafone communication systems, and they want a particular company to manage the infrastructure, and they want physical assets from this particular supplier, this particular company. So all of that is predetermined and preset for us. It's also good because all the costing and all the budgeting has already been accounted, and all the due diligence has already been done. So by the time that a CGI appoints a project manager, all of the legwork is done. We know how much all of the different assets are going to cost. We know where we're going to get them from. We know what dates we're going to receive them from. So it's quite easy to plan what CGI's role is within the project, because a lot of this data is given to us by the clients. We also have the contracts are also taken care of by the consultants and by business people, by specialized business people within CGI. So a project manager doesn't really need to be involved with within contracting side of things. However, there might be cases where the people developing contracts do need opinions of project managers, and that is when we add value, and that is when we have our say as project managers, and we put forward our opinion and our experience to develop those contracts. Although we don't have to select the suppliers firsthand, and we don't have to provide the requirements ourselves, the requirements are given to us by the client, and it's sort of approved by CGI and approved by sort of various consultants within CGI, and it's approved by the client. That yes, those requirements are correct for this particular project, and the selection process that the client went through to select those vendors and those suppliers was adequate and was fit for purpose. Most of the suppliers are reimbursed on a fixed price basis in this particular contract, and they are reimbursed on a monthly basis, and sometimes it can be the case that the payments for the suppliers and the payments for the vendors are in line with the milestone payments that we receive as a service provider. Contracts play quite a critical role because the detail that is contained within contracts define what we include as scope within a particular project, because most of the times the contract would cover all the things that are contained within the scope, and will contain what is actually what is a deliverable that we as a business have promised them. And a lot of the milestone payments would also be mentioned in the contracts that we have with clients, and we will also have similar sort of contracts with suppliers, that those suppliers promise to deliver certain goods or services to us by a certain date at a price that was agreed at the start, and we as service providers will pay them for those services, or the client will make the payment for those services once the service has been rendered or once the goods have been delivered.